Decision not to have a pre-trial hearing appears to be coming back to bite Dudu Myeni and her legal team. There have already been 2 adjournments today as the opposing legal teams argue over Myeni's right to bring new evidence. Now, the former SAA board chairperson is facing a delinquency charge brought forward by OUTA as well as the SAA Pilots Association. Now, Heidi Jockers joins me from the Palace of Justice in Pretoria for more on the story. Colleague, good to have you and good afternoon to you. Let's talk about these 2 delays from today. Now, firstly, I understand it had to do with notes that Dudu Myeni had, which, of course, the other legal team had wanted. And then there were new documents, I also understand, that her legal team wanted to bring forward.
Exactly, Tumelo. So there were 2 adjournments that we saw here this morning. Court was supposed to start off at 9:30. As soon as it kicked off, OUTA and the South African Airways Pilots Association indicated that they see Dudu Myeni has some kind of notes with her. They want access to those notes. They want to read over them and perhaps get copies of them as she is under cross-examination. And when one is under cross-examination, she's not allowed to be in conversation with her legal counsel. And OUTA and the South African Airways Pilots Association have a right to see those notes. We adjourned, and then they got access to those notes. And then soon after that, it appeared as though Dudu Myeni's legal team wanted to introduce new documents, new bundles of evidence. And of course, OUTA and SAPA objected to this, basically saying that it is unfair for Dudu Myeni to be bringing in new evidence at such a late stage, given the fact that she had an opportunity for pre-trial, she had an opportunity to bring her documents forward and heads of arguments, which was not done by Dudu Myeni's legal team. And you could see some kind of frustration from OUTA and the Pilots Association as they are saying this is another delay. This is when the judge said perhaps a new application must be brought forward, and that's when OUTA said in actual fact, we are not going to agree to this new application. Dudu Myeni is more than welcome to bring in her new evidence. We'll deal with it as time goes by. And of course, Advocate Buthelezi for Dudu Myeni arguing that it's imperative for Dudu Myeni to be given an opportunity to bring forward these new documents, if I can call it that, so she can substitute her evidence brought forward here. Let's perhaps listen to arguments from both counsels this morning.
Milady, the documents that the first defendant wants to hand up are not part of the evidence bundles. She tells us that she looked at her SAA hard drive and found them. Of the 3 I saw, 2 had been discovered originally, but never placed in a bundle, an evidence bundle. And the 3rd we've never seen, which comes directly from her hard drive. The one that comes directly from her hard drive, milady, I must point out that in her initial discovery affidavit, she swore under oath that those were the sum total of the documents in her control or under her possession, under her control or in her possession, which turns out to be untrue and therefore a perjury, because she had a hard drive and she only chose to look at it this weekend.
On my arrival in this matter, I requested time. Yes. My learned friends objected to the timelines that I'd requested, but that as it may be, then we worked through the documents. And what I then subsequently discovered is that the documents they had in their possession are in part 2 categories. 1, documents received from SAA, which pretty much are similar to the documents we'd received. And then there's a surplus extra layer of documents which have the stamp of the State Commission of State Capture Inquiry that have them. So 90% of the documents that we have and the documents that they don't have are similar. With these 2 issues, these 2 documents that they say don't form part of the evidence bundle are documents discovered to them and deliberately omitted,
So what else then, Heidi, is being brought forward in court today?
So it's the Airbus deal. Cross-examination is heavily focused on the Airbus deal. If one recalls, it's a very complex transaction, but it appears as though it was a deal that was negotiated 15 years prior to when it actually took place, and it was a swap transaction that was meant to take place, leasing old aircraft to get new aircraft and so forth. And it appears as though the evidence that's been brought forward by the Pilots Association and ALTA, Dudu Myeni stalled that transaction time and time again, and she was insistent on getting an African leasing company to come in. Evidence that's been heard is that there was no proper African leasing company to come in. So it appears as though Dudu Myeni is saying that it was all based on board resolution, and even though there was a clear instruction by then Finance Minister Nhlanhla Nene to sign off on the deal, as there was an urgency for SA to make sure it signs, otherwise they were going to forfeit and they were going to end up having to pay Airbus, which eventually they ended up paying over 1 billion rand, if I'm not mistaken, because there was no urgency in signing on the matter. Dudu Myeni still insists, and in her testimony here before the court, that it was all based on board resolution, and she did everything she was supposed to do as the chairperson. Of course, she is being questioned about her fiduciary duties, meeting with the Airbus in private meetings where executives at SA were seeing her going into private meetings, and as a chairperson, she was not supposed to be getting involved in procurement deals. So all of that is being brought forward, and after lunch, Airbus will still be in sharp focus.
All right, Heidi, that's where we leave our conversation. Thank you so much for that update, Heidi Jockers.